Butch is in the house. Swimming here this morning in Pullman. Washington State is hosting Northern Colorado. Trevor Williams, our Pac-12 Plus crew with you. Let's talk about last night for Washington State against the Stanford Cardinal. Emily Lundgren continued an impressive beginning to her season for the Cougs. Lundgren finishing in 1 minute, 3 seconds, and 800ths in the 100-yard breaststroke. She remains undefeated at home in that event. We will see that on the event list later today. Then in the 200 breaststroke, she continued her dominance as well. She won a couple events earlier this year against California, and then last night against Stanford, continued to get out in front, this time at 2:14.61, beating Sam Tatter by 2 seconds as she raced ahead of Tatter in both of those events a night ago. Dory Hatazi for Washington State was also tremendous in the 200 fly a night ago. Hatazi, one of the highly touted recruits out of Hungary for the Cougars, did a great job to really give herself a good advantage heading down the stretch. She was able to win comfortably, collecting another win at home for the Cougars this year. We will see Hatazi again in these sprint-style races today. Washington State and Northern Colorado getting ready to go. Welcome to Gibb Pool in Pullman. Washington State and Northern Colorado. Dual meet action today for the Cougars and the Bears. And so glad to have you with us. Trevor Williams along with the rest of our Pac-12 Plus crew. And we'll meet the Northern Colorado Bears first. From Greeley, Colorado, yesterday they defeated the University of Idaho over in Moscow. As you see the Bears there on your screen. Few to watch out for today. Anna Austin, graduate senior for Northern Colorado, is an all-WAC first-teamer, 3-time all-conference, third in the conference in distance races, but today will be more of a sprinting format between Washington State and Northern Colorado, with both teams coming off of competition yesterday. Brianna Ungs is going to be really good as well, UNC record holder in the 100 breast, and at 101.60 she was the newcomer of the year last year for Northern Colorado. As they get introduced to the fans here this morning at Gibb Pool in Pullman. Northern Colorado, as we mentioned yesterday, coming off their competition with Idaho, a win over the Vandals. This has been a really good start in conference action for Northern Colorado this year. Washington State, they took on Stanford a night ago. Stanford, the number 2 team in the country, and the Cougars continued to get some really nice finishes against the Cardinal, as it was their freshmen continuing to impress, and Emily Lundgren and Dory Hatazi a night ago. And we saw a lot of nice second-place finishes in there as well. Noelle Harvey had one for the Cougars. And Washington State overall pretty happy with what they saw a night ago against the Cardinal. Matt Leach said obviously there's some things they want to brush up technical-wise and to continue to train and build up, but they felt better, I think, in that second meet of the season than they did against California here a couple weeks ago at home. Chance to meet those Cougars now this morning at Gibb Pool. And we mentioned some of the standouts. Dory Hatazi at the end of this list for the Cougars, the freshman from Hungary who's already won some 200 flies this year and continued to perform well against Stanford a night ago. In the second group, Emily Lundgren, she won a couple and she stayed undefeated in the 100 breast here at Gibb Pool. And then to round it out down the rest of the line for Washington State, Anna Rockholtz yesterday helped the Cougar relay team tie for second at the end of their events against Stanford a night ago. That ended up being a meet that scored a little tighter for Washington State, 145-110. The Stanford win after all of the races were tallied and finished up a night ago. So we are excited today, this morning, to see Washington State take on Northern Colorado, the Cougars and the Bears, as we get through the lineups for Washington State. And a reminder that today will be more of a sprint format. You won't see the 1,000 in this event list today. There will be a 500, our second event of the day, but a lot of 50s and 100s, and we'll see a few 200s and some relays mixed in there as well this morning for the Cougars and the Bears, who will get it going at Gibb Pool. It's just a couple minutes away. We'll come back. We're going to recap what happened against the Stanford Cardinal last night, and then we will get underway with the 200 medley relay. The Cougars and the Bears dual meet action next here on Pac-12 Plus. Washington State and Northern Colorado this morning, dual meet action. And we open up with the 200-yard medley relay. Washington State's Team B, Kiana Swain, Alexandra Vartanen, Kaya Takashige, Haley Grotti will be in lane 3. Northern Colorado in lane 4 with Claire Timpson, followed by Brianna Ungs, Peyton Irwin, Allison Jackson. Then Washington State A in lane 5, Anna Rockholtz, Emily Lundgren, Dori Hatazi, and Angela DiPaolo. Northern Colorado, the other UNC, AJ Pop, Maria Arakina, Caitlin Bergen, and Sana Liikanen in lane 6. And Washington State lane 7, Ellie Moss, Sophie Macy, Jewel Springer, and Skylar Burgach. 200-yard medley relay. The best teams yesterday in this event for Washington State of Rockholtz, Lundgren, Hatazi, and DeHode. Line up a little different with DiPaolo being the anchor leg for the Cougars today. They finished a second faster than what UNC did a night ago against Idaho. That was Timpson, Arakina, Bergen, and Allison Jackson. Washington State does have the lead out in lane 5. Anna Rockholtz on the second leg for the Cougars. Just trying to push them to the halfway mark. Brianna Ungs, lane 4 for Northern Colorado. We talked about her ability in the 100-yard breaststroke. She is the school record holder in that event. Third leg in now, and Dori Hatazi on the lead for Washington State. The fly specialist showing that off here in the first event of the morning. She's leading in 5. Below her in lane 4 with a nice push is Peyton Irwin for Northern Colorado. And Hatazi will transfer it to Angela DiPaolo. Sana Liikanen chasing in 4 here in the freestyle. Liikanen trying to close the gap. DiPaolo off the turn. Liikanen has closed the space for Northern Colorado. Good race here coming down the stretch. DiPaolo still has it by a bit, and she does finish out ahead of Liikanen. Washington State's A and Northern Colorado's A relays going 1-2 here in this one. And you see a half a second splitting the difference between those two as Washington State takes first and third, Northern Colorado seconds in that first event today between the Cougs and the Bears. So glad to have you with us again. This is going to be a sprint-style day between the Cougars and the Bears. So we will see a lot of those shorter events today here at Gibb Pool. We have the 500 freestyle up next. There will be 2 heats of this 500 freestyle. One will be a timed heat for Washington State in the second heat. Starting off in this first heat in lane 1 for Washington State will be Rebecca Oviedo Cardenas, Lily Mayer in lane 2 for Northern Colorado, Lauren Willie in lane 3 for Washington State, Anna Austin in lane 4 for Northern Colorado, Noelle Harvey in lane 5 for WSU, Chana Cordova in lane 6 for Northern Colorado, and Josie Liebzeit in lane 7 for Washington State. Joining us, as always, for the distance races, Michelle Van Ruyen. And you're a mainstay now on the broadcast, so you have to come up every time now when we get into the distances, which we'll only have one today in a sprint-style meet.
Yes, no, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me again.
And I'm sorry, we keep making you run the stairs to get up here in time for the races. Let's talk about today's meet structure first. It's going to be a sprint style, so a little different. Both teams coming off of competition last night. Washington State against Stanford, Northern Colorado against Idaho. But kind of a different test today and some different lineups. Coach Leach mentioned kind of mixing people around. Going to see how some of the sprints go.
Yeah, no, so yeah, it's a sprinting meet today, and Northern Colorado is, from my understanding, a sprinting team. Like they're good with the shorter distances, and I know they came off a win with Idaho last night, so they're on a high right now, and we're going to try and feed off of that and just focus on what we have to do.
And we saw that even at the end of that opening relay in the 200 medley, Northern Colorado able to shrink a little bit of that space with the quick burst. Right now for Washington State, Noelle Harvey has the lead. We talked about Harvey last night, kind of having an important performance against Stanford, continuing to up her season, and I think a performance she was pretty happy with early on last night.
100%. She went a lot faster than what she did against Cal, so like I said, we're just keep trying to improve, and we're improving, so we're happy.
Harvey was 10-13 last night in the 1,000-yard freestyle before we got into the later distances of the 500. We talked about the vibe last night, but for folks that weren't on that broadcast or following the Cougs last night, really good showing against Stanford, 145-110, the final against the Cardinal, and there was a lot of positivity coming out of that one. We saw what Coach said after the match, or after the meet, in terms of the continual improvement and obviously the things that you want to pick up in training, but all in all, a lot of good improvements across the board last night.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I said, we figured out what we need to work on, and racing a great team like Stanford, it helps us to see what we can improve on even more. So no, it was a great time.
Another thing we talked about last night, but worth mentioning today, with both teams coming off of the quick turnaround. You know, both competed same time yesterday, and then you turn around today and have that quick start in the morning. How does that work as a swimmer? I mean, you guys are used to the early mornings, certainly, but still a lot to recover and get back in the pool and compete at a high level today.
Yeah, no, 100%. You put your body through a lot when you race. You swim quite a few yardage, and as long as you get the nutrition and the sleep that you need to recover, you're going to be good. And this is good preparation for the longer meets like we're going to have in Texas coming up pretty soon, and like Pac-12 is also coming up, ACCAs and NCAAs if we make it, so it's good prep for that.
We mentioned right now that it is still Noelle Harvey in the lead for Washington State. Anna Austin following her for Northern Colorado. Austin, the fifth-year senior from Arvada, Colorado, who we mentioned in the Open is a three-time all-conference selection for this Northern Colorado team. You mentioned Art Adamson in the event in Texas that you guys will have coming up, multi-day event. And I remember back against Cal, you were saying that's one of your guys' favorite events of the early portion of the season. Why is it that event is kind of one of the ones that the Cougs tab as a favorite?
It's one of our first in-season like big meets where we get to swim fast. We taper for it, so we're expecting big times. And it's also the first meet we get to suit up in knee skins, and a knee skin obviously helps you go faster physically, but it has a big, in my experience, has a big mental aspect to it as well. Because you have this understanding, if you put a knee skin on, you're going to swim fast times, and you go in with that expectation, and that helps you just improve so much more. Adds
that extra motivation. Does it is it a simulation of sorts for when you start thinking about races like Pac-12s at the end of the year, things like that you're building to? Does it give you that kind of vibe too, and that energy?
Yes, 100%, because you put the knee skin on in that meet as well, and like I said, you're just trying to go as fast as you can, and faster than the previous time you saw him in the knee skin.
Because you know you better post a good time when you've got that on.
100%.
Noelle Harvey leading here into the final stretch for Washington State. What have you seen from her in this race? Nice, steady swimming. Looks pretty smooth.
100%. She kept it really constant. I think she'd be happy with that time she's going to post right now.
She's coming in 10 seconds shy of the 5-minute mark right now. As we mentioned, this will be the longest race of the day. We're going to get into a lot of sprinting here before our first break of the morning. We've got 4 combinations of 50s and 100s as Harvey does finish first for Washington State. Anna Austin rounding it out at second. The Cougars will get a third-place finish inside of that as well, as they've got 2 really tight. It's Willie edging at third before Liebzeit, but only 0.07 of a second separating them. Michelle, thank you so much. It's been a fun weekend. We're looking forward to the rest of today, and we'll see what the Cougs have to offer the rest of the meet.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Michelle Van Ruyen, former Washington State swimmer, now a graduate assistant with the Cougar Swim program, joining us here for the 500 as Washington State sweeps this event. Or no, they take first and third. Excuse me, Anna Austin was thinking about the third and fourth finishes for Washington State of Willie and Liebzeit. But a nice job by Noelle Harvey. 5 minutes and 72 hundredths for her there in the 500 freestyle. Harvey, we mentioned yesterday in the 1,000 for Washington State, was at 10:13. So mirrors in the first two events, with Washington State taking first and third, Northern Colorado second. And we did mention we have a second heat of the time finals here between Washington State and Northern Colorado in the 500 freestyle. So this will be Taylor Shababerly in lane 3 and Michaela Poloni in lane 5 for Washington State. So they're getting some good times in here. Boy, we were talking about Northern Colorado last night against Idaho. What a close one for the Bears against the Vandals. 151-149, the victory for Northern Colorado against Idaho. And Northern Colorado comes in having competed in 4 dual meets so far this year, and they have won all 4. Northern Colorado last night had a trio of individual winners who won 2 races on the night. And Northern Colorado actually trailed by 3 points heading into the final event last night, but their relay team of Sana Liikanen, Anna Austin, Elizabeth Mayer, and Allie Jackson were able to clinch the team victory as they edged out Idaho by a little over a second in the 400-yard freestyle relay to win that one. So Michaela Poloni and Taylor Shababerly for Washington State here in the second heat of the 500-yard freestyle. Washington State took first and third, Northern Colorado second. Mention the rest of the events coming up here this morning. We'll move on to the 50 fly, 100 breast, 100 back, 50 free, and the 200 individual medley before our first break of the morning. And then a 4x100 individual medley relay after that 15-minute timeout. A 200 free, 50 back and breast, and a 100 fly. And then we'll take a 10-minute break and cap it with a 100 individual medley and 200 freestyle relay. So some of the main standard events, so capping with the relay event here today, but you'll see a lot of great sprinting coming up. It'll be really fun to see Dory Hatazi in the 50 fly, the fly specialist for Washington State. Caitlin Burgeon, along with Peyton Irwin, are going to be the ones to really go against her. Irwin was third in the WAC last year in the butterfly, and Burgeon coming into yesterday already had 41 career wins. Really a lot, especially in the 400 and the 200s for her. So a great opportunity to see her in a 50-yard butterfly as well. So that'll be exciting coming up. So right now, Michaela Poloni and Taylor Shababerly swimming the second heat of this freestyle. Poloni is pretty much led wire to wire. Little on Poloni, junior swimmer for the Cougars, getting a chance in this distance event. Her season best last year came in the 50 back and the 100 back at the Pac-12 Conference Championships. Personal best her freshman year as well in the 100 back, 55.25 at the Pac-12 Championships. That's a career best for Poloni. And Shababerly, who's working into your screen on the bottom side, a sophomore from Houston, Texas. So that our Adamson invite that we talked about with Michelle Van Rooyen that the Cougars will be headed to, that'll be a homecoming for Shababerly of sorts back into the state of Texas. Freshman year for Shababerly, season best times in the 200 free, 500 free, 1,000 and 1650 at the Pac-12 Championships last February. She won in her first collegiate meets. Or actually finished second in her first collegiate meet, 1,000 free in the Washington State team win at Idaho last year. So swimming in the 500 free now here is, it'll be Poloni tapping the wall first, heading to the final down and back of this 500 freestyle, followed by Shababerly. Again, the Cougars took first and third in this event, with Northern Colorado second behind Anna Austin, their all-conference distance swimmer. Poloni finishing at 5:15 and 21 hundredths. And Shababerly at 5:24 and 55 hundredths. That concluding the 500-yard freestyle this morning, second event in Pullman, as we'll move on to the 50 fly. Lane 1 for Washington State, Claire Anderson, local product from Moscow. Sana Liikinen of Northern Colorado in lane 2. Kaya Takashige, lane 3 for Washington State. Caitlin Burgeon in lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Dory Hatazi in lane 5 for Washington State. Peyton Irwin in lane 6 for Northern Colorado. And then a pair of Cougars in lane 7 and 8. Skylar Burgach in 7 and Michaela Curtin in lane 8. As we mentioned, keep your eye on the middle lanes here. Bergen in 4, Hatazi in 5, Irwin in 6 in this 50 fly. And we'll see how the Hungarian number 22 recruit in the world for the 22 class fares here. It is out in lane 6, Peyton Irwin out in the lead. Irwin third in the conference last year in this event. Will finish first ahead of Hatazi and Takashige for Washington State. Irwin at 25.67. And Northern Colorado with its first win of the day. Dory Hatazi goes second, Takashige third. And Northern Colorado able to collect its first victory here in the pool this morning against Washington State. Michelle Van Rooyen mentioned that this is a Northern Colorado team that they expect to really excel in these sprinting events, put on a nice test for Washington State. Certainly so. They're on the win for Peyton Irwin, who had won all of her 200-yard butterflies coming in to competition today. She was perfect on the season and got a chance there in the 50 fly to flex it. So 100-yard breaststroke next. Lane 2 for Northern Colorado be Suna Wilhelmsdotter. Maria Arakina in lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Emily Lundgren in lane 5 for Washington State. Brianna Ungs in lane 6 for Northern Colorado. And Alexandra Vartanen in lane 7 for WSU. Cougars have the lead in this dual meet. And 100-yard breaststroke underway. Great start out in lane 5 for Emily Lundgren, who has been perfect in this event at home so far this year. She's trying to hold off Maria Arakina on the inside. And outside of Lundgren, Brianna Ungs as well. Ungs, we mentioned, second in the Western Athletic Conference in this event last year. Arakina is from Cyprus, has been a great relayer, won in the 100-yard breaststroke against Wyoming, 104.93 for the freshman from Cyprus. But it's the freshman from Washington State, Emily Lundgren, who is perfect in this event at home this year. 12th ranked recruit out of California, keeping the lead. And Lundgren taps in first. Another win at home for Emily Lundgren. 1:03:48, couple seconds ahead of Arakina and Ungs, who go 2 and 3 for Northern Colorado. So another event win for Washington State. Have a feeling we're going to see plenty of those for Emily Lundgren at Gibb Pool in her career in this 100-yard breaststroke. And just a peek of that big smile for the freshman who continues to perform magnificently here in the early season for Washington State. So we'll continue us on to the 100-yard backstroke now this morning. Lane 2 for Northern Colorado is Paula Nunez. Lane 3 for Washington State is Kiana Swain. Lane 4 for Northern Colorado, Claire Timpson. Anna Rockholtz in lane 5 for Washington State. AJ Pop in lane 6 for Northern Colorado, and Ellie Moss in lane 7 for WSU. Back. Strong start in 5 for Rockholtz. Rockholtz, an important part of the Washington State relay team, capping last night's Rockholtz is a freshman from Portland, Oregon, was second in the 200 back against Cal and in the 100 back as well. That's the event she's in here, and she has a healthy advantage. Other notables, it looks like out in lane 7, a chance for second for Ellie Moss for Washington State. Also a tight race with lane 3, Kiana Swain of WSU. Cougars may have designs of trying to sweep this event. Claire Timpson for Northern Colorado, though, trying to hang tight with Ellie Moss. Washington State first with Rockholtz. And the Cougars go 2-3, Swain and Moss. A sweep for Washington State. First sweep of the morning for the Cougars comes in the 100-yard backstroke led by Anna Rockholtz. Rockholtz, who's one of the top 5 swimming recruits out of the state of Oregon for Washington State, getting that victory. Great to see for her, who's out of St. Mary's Academy. Was a winner in the state championships in Oregon in the 100 back, and now a winner today against Northern Colorado in this dual meet in the 100-yard backstroke. Final 2 events before our morning break. The 50-yard freestyle for Washington State in lane 1, Clara Anderson. Northern Colorado has Anna Austin in lane 2. Austin is a second-place finisher earlier. Angela DePaulo in lane 3 for WSU. Sana Liikinen in lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Noelle Harvey in lane 5 for WSU. Allison Jackson in lane 6 for Northern Colorado. And then Skylar Burgach in lane 7 for WSU. And Michaela Curtin in lane 8. The 50 free. Northern Colorado, great start. Out in 6 for Allison Jackson. We saw Jackson down the stretch in the medley relay at the start, really put on some steam. Now it's inside lane 4 from Sana Liikinen giving a push. The Cougars a late charge in 5 from Noelle Harvey. And Harvey wins it for Washington State. Gaining ground in the final 25 yards. And Harvey's first with Jackson and Liikinen following in second and third. Great sprint from Noelle Harvey and a nice turn after the opening 25 to come home and win the 50-yard freestyle for the Cougars. The Cougars another event win. And Harvey, the sophomore from Carlsbad, California, who already owns 8 WSU top 10 times, including in the 50 free, continues to showcase great sprinting for the Cougars this morning. I'll take us into our final events here before a 15-minute break this morning. 200-yard individual medley. Lauren Willie in lane 1 for WSU. Lily Mayer in lane 2 for Northern Colorado. Sophie Macy in lane 3 for WSU. Maria Arakina in lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Jules Springer in lane 5 for WSU. Suna Willemsdotter in lane 6 for Northern Colorado. And Haley Grotti, lane 7 for Washington State. So we started with the 200 medley relay. We end before the first break this morning in the 200 individual medley. Good start out in lane 7 for Haley Grotti. So lanes 5 and 1 for Washington State. Springer and Willie into the backstroke here. Heading towards the halfway point. A little bit of distance for Springer out in front in 5. The Cougars have all of the top spots in this event locked down right now, 1, 2, and 3, with Springer, Grotti, and Willie leading the pack into the breaststroke here. Springer is a senior from Federal Way. Owns the WSU top 10 time in the 200 fly at just over 2 minutes. She's competing here in the third leg of this individual medley out in front for Washington State. Grotti out in 7, the junior from Battleground, Washington. Had a top 5 finish against California. That was in the 100-yard backstroke, and she is really pushing here at the end of this individual medley. Out in 7, Grotti coming from behind to upend her teammate Springer, then followed by Willie, as they were the top 3 throughout. But a victory here in the 200 individual medley for Haley Grotti, the junior. And she turned it in really well into that final leg in the freestyle on her way back home to get the victory. And Washington State sweeps the 200-yard individual medley. So a couple sweeps in the first set of events this morning, and the Cougars lead through the first 7 events this morning against Northern Colorado at Gibb Pool. It's dual meet action today. Washington State hosting Northern Colorado in a sprint-style events list this morning in Pullman. Cougars have the lead. We will break for 15 minutes. We come back with the 4x100 individual medley relay. You're watching women's swimming this morning on Pac-12+. We got the cheering section on. Oh, yeah, waving up here for the relays as we get ready for the 4x100 400-yard medley relay here. Washington State in lane 3. Their B relay of Sophie Macy, Ellie Moss, Clara Anderson, Alexandra Vartanen. Northern Colorado A's in lane 4. That's Maria Arakina, Caitlin Burgeon, Paula Nunez, and Peyton Irwin. And lane 5 for Washington State, Haley Grotti, Kayataka Shige, Jules Springer, and Emily Lundgren. That is the A relay team for the Cougars. We already saw Grotti and Springer post some good competition earlier. Grotti edged Springer as the Cougars swept the 200-yard individual medley right before the 15-minute break. The lead to start it was for Grotti and Washington State out in 5. But on that last turn, Northern Colorado turning it around. Maria Arakina. Arakina, who's from Cyprus, as we mentioned earlier. Again, turned around by the Cougars. They take it over. On the way back down, Grotti was able to grab a large lead in lane 5 for Washington State on the stronger portion of her individual medley. In the second leg, Ellie Moss out in lane 5 for Washington State. Caitlin Bergen, lane 4 following for Northern Colorado, and then Kaya Takashige. Or lane 5 is Kaya Takashige, excuse me. Ellie Moss is the lane 3 competitor for Washington State. This A relay team for Washington State has picked it up. Out in lane 5. We'll head to leg 3. Jules Springer out there. Clara Anderson near side. Paula Nunez Velasquez in the middle for Northern Colorado here in the fly portion. Clara Anderson gaining a little ground during that fly. We'll see how she does on the backstroke, with Jules Springer still out a couple body lengths ahead of Nunez Velasquez. Nunez Velasquez got a little time back there in the backstroke against Anderson, who closed well on the fly. Springer's going to hand it off to Lundgren, who's been mighty impressive this year for the Cougars. And Lundgren will be the anchor leg for Washington State in this medley relay. She gets a great jump out there in the fly, followed by Peyton Irwin and then Alexandra Vartanen for WSU. Lundgren, who's been perfect for the Cougars this year in the 100 breaststroke, gets into her best portion of this medley right here. And then she'll get to kick it home. Freestyle. Noelle Harvey, already a couple wins individually. Lundgren had one in the breaststroke. And she will take home a 400 medley relay victory for her Washington State A team. Haley Grotti, Kaya Takashige, Jules Springer, and Emily Lundgren. Followed by Maria Arakina, Caitlin Bergen, Paula Nunez Velasquez, and Peyton Irwin. And then Sophie Macy, Ellie Moss, Clara Anderson, and Alexandra Vartanen. WSU continues to pace its lead here this morning. And a good finish for the Cougars there in the 400 medley relay. 200 freestyle now between the Cougars and the Bears. We will have two heats. Second heat will be timing heat for Washington State of Shababerly and Oviedo Cardenas. But here in Heat 1, Angela DiPaolo in lane 1 for WSU. Allison Jackson in lane 2 for Northern Colorado. Josie Liebzeit in lane 3 for WSU. Anna Austin lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Dory Hatazis in lane 5 for the Cougars. Sana Liikinen in lane 6 for the Bears. And Lauren Willie for Wazoo in lane 7. 200 freestyle. There is a lane change here. Liebzeit is going to lane 1, and Angela DiPaolo to lane 3. So that is the change from what we announced there earlier. So a flip of those lanes. Looks like DiPaolo pretty much stroke for stroke right now with Hatazi and Willie. Really strong start out of lanes 3, 5, and 7 for Washington State, with Willie maybe at this most recent turn gaining just a bit. I think Hatazi had the better turn at the wall though. And Hatazi is just trying to stretch out ahead. Willie is making it up in the gaps in between the walls. Boy, it's about as close as you can be right now between DePaulo, Hatazi, and Willie for Washington State. All three leading up front for the Cougars. Hatazi really kicking out of the middle here for Washington State. In this 200 free has opened up her advantage. Little move inside by Anna Austin. Austin now challenging DePaulo and Willie. Austin might have just passed Willie in this last stretch. Hatazi out in front. Good turn by DePaulo. DePaulo and Austin neck and neck in lanes 3 and 4. Here comes Hatazi. Hatazi touches first. Will it be DePaulo or Austin? It's DePaulo edging out second by 0.08 of a second. So the Cougars get first and second in the 200 free. Dory Hatazi, another win on her freshman season for Washington State. Northern Colorado's Anna Austin comes in third in that event. And you see the times. Times already moved on up on the board. But Dory Hatazi with another win. Hatazi doing it this time in the 200 free. Different event for her to win at home at Gibb Pool so far this year. Taylor Shababerly and Rebecca Oviedo Cardenas will swim here in the second heat of the 200 free. Then we have a couple 50-yard events in the backstroke and the breaststroke, and then 100 butterfly to take us to our final break of the morning. A 10-minute break before the 100 individual medley and the 200 freestyle relay. So Rebecca Oviedo Cardenas in lane 5, Taylor Shababerly in lane 3. Shababerly, who we saw earlier, Oviedo Cardenas was in the relays earlier for Washington State from San Luis Potosí, Mexico. Another neck and neck affair here through the first 100. Boy, Dory Hatazi was locked up with teammates Angela DePaulo and Lauren Willie in the first heat of this event, and Hatazi was right after this upcoming turn that she really changed the race and jumped out in front and then never looked back for Washington State. She had a little extra in the tank for that finish. Washington State with a 60-point advantage right now, looking for their first dual meet win of the year. Northern Colorado has been a perfect 4-0 this season, including a 2-point win over the University of Idaho last night. Oviedo Cardenas has gotten just a hair ahead of Shababerly. Comes Oviedo Cardenas, and she will finish just ahead of her Cougar teammate Taylor Shababerly here in the 200 freestyle. Their times there. That'll move us on to the 50 back with Ellie Moss of Washington State in lane 1. Paula Nunez Velasquez in lane 2 for Northern Colorado. Anna Rockholtz in lane 3 for Washington State. Claire Timpson in lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Noelle Harvey in lane 5 for Washington State. AJ Pop in lane 6 for Northern Colorado. Kiana Swain in lane 7 for WSU. Michaela Poloni in lane 8 for the Cougars. Noelle Harvey already has 2 victories today. Harvey trying to find a third. The sophomore with a lot of Washington State top 10 times in the freestyle, but does have it in the 100 and 200 back as well. Has to do it in the 50 here. And Harvey is in lane 5. Harvey does have the early edge, along with Rockholtz in lane 3. Quick race here, and Rockholtz, really strong turn. Rockholtz down the stretch in 1, Harvey's in 2, and then Timpson in 3rd. That's where it goes 1, 2, 3. Washington State claiming the first 2. Anna Rockholtz, nice showing there in the back. This freshman from Portland continuing to impress. Another win for Anna Rockholtz. She joins Noelle Harvey with 2 on the day. And these youngsters for the Cougars are continuing to post excellent results for Washington State. So we will see a 50-yard breaststroke up next. Alexandra Vartanen in lane 1 for WSU. Suna Village-Daughter in lane 2 for Northern Colorado. Emily Lundgren in lane 3 for Washington State. Maria Arakina in lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Haley Grotti in lane 5 for WSU. Brianna Ungs in lane 6 for Northern Colorado. Kaya Takashige in lane 7 for WSU. And Sophie Macy in lane 8 for the Cougars. We'll see. Emily Lundgren has been the top of this event for Washington State in the 100 breaststroke. We'll see how she fares in the 50. Lundgren just the young 18-year-old for the Cougars. She is in lane 3 and has the lead. Lundgren loves this event. Being challenged hard by Haley Grotti in lane 5. Lundgren first to the wall, followed by Grotti and Ungs. Then Takashige, Arakina, Vartanen, Willemsdotter, and Macy. The 8 there's Washington State again takes 1 and 2, and Emily Lundgren once again claims victory in Pullman, this time in the shorter version of the breaststroke, but gets it done in the 50-yard. And Lundgren, really talented breaststroke swimmer for Washington State, continuing to rack up the victories. And another big smile as she exits the pool here in Pullman. Final event before a 10-minute break now here in this dual meet. 100-yard butterfly, lane 1, Skylar Burgotts for Washington State. Shanna Cordova, lane 2 for Northern Colorado. Jewel Springer in lane 3 for WSU. Peyton Irwin in lane 4 for Northern Colorado. Dory Hatazi in lane 5 for Washington State. Caitlin Burgeon in lane 6 for Northern Colorado. And Clara Anderson in lane 7 for WSU. $100-yard fly. Hatazi is going to be a favorite in lane 5 in this event. But Peyton Irwin, Caitlin Burgeon, they are great fighters in this as well. Irwin in lane 4 has the advantage here through the first 50. Irwin was 3rd in the WAC last year in this event. 55.70 her best time. coming into this weekend, had won all of her 200 flies this year. And she is staying out ahead of Hatazi. Irwin, then Hatazi. And the Cougars will claim third out of lane 7 from Clara Anderson, the Moscow native. But Irwin at 56.68, winning that for Northern Colorado, and Washington State takes second and third in the 100 fly. A victory for Peyton Irwin, the junior from Erie, Colorado, continues to excel in the fly this year for the Bears. Washington State with an advantage heading to our second break of the morning. We come back for the finals, the 100 individual medley and the 200 freestyle relay. Dual meet action this morning. Washington State closing in on its first victory in dual meet action of the season. The Bears and the Cougars here on Pac-12 Plus. Back in Pullman, final couple events of this dual meet between Washington State and Northern Colorado women's swimming this morning on Pac-12 Plus. So glad to have you with us. Trevor Williams, the rest of our crew. We have the 100-yard individual medley. Kaya Takashige in lane 1 for Washington State. Paula Nunez-Velasquez lane 2 for Northern Colorado. Emily Lundgren lane 3 for WSU. We have a scratch in lane 4. Caitlin Burgeon scratched. Haley Grotti in lane 5 for WSU. Peyton Irwin lane 6 for Northern Colorado. And Jules Springer in lane 7 for Washington State. Irwin out in 6 ahead of Grotti in lane 5. Actually near side lane 1, Takashige for Washington State putting up the best fight. And Takashige is actually out in front here in lane 1. So Takashige, bottom of the screen, out leading for Washington State, a junior from Hawaii. See if she can stay up here in the free down the stretch. Inside lane 1, Takashige. A victory for Washington State. Time was not running up on the board, but Takashige did touch first for the Cougars. And now the clock flashes the finals. 58-82 for Takashige. But that was not right either, because that had her slower than Grotti. So a little bit of a timing issue there as the swimmers are looking up for the results. Takashige clearly touched first in lane 1. The junior who had a couple nice times against Cal. And she wins here in the 100-yard individual medley of a second heat of Josie Liebzeit, Sophie Macy, and Alexandra Vartanen for the Cougars. Liebzeit is lane 3 for Washington State. Macy lane 5. Vartanen lane 7. Good start inside in lane 3 for Liebzeit. Had a couple fourth place finishes in the 1,000 free last year. Swims through the back of this individual medley and now into the breaststroke. She's leading Macy, followed by Vartanen. after Washington State claimed, I believe, was at least first and second, if not a late push for third in the individual medley. We had a little timing error up on the screen. It's Liebzeit first ahead of Macy and Vartanen, but Liebzeit, it looks like, has been DQ'd. And the Cougars did sweep the 100-yard individual medley. I did think that Haley Grotti come back on Peyton Irwin there at the end, and she did. So Grotti was third, Emily Lundgren was second, and Kaya Takashige did win there in the 100-yard individual medley. And that'll take us to the final event of the day, the Washington State Relay Team B in lane 3 for this 200-yard freestyle. Clara Anderson, Lauren Willie, Michaela Curtin, and Anna Rockholtz. Northern Colorado's Team A in lane 4, Sana Liikanen, Anna Austin, Brianna Ungs, Allison Jackson. Lane 5 for Washington State A, Angela DiPaolo, Dori Hatazi, Noelle Harvey, and Skylar Burgach. And lane 7 for WSU, Rebecca Oviedo Cardenas, Michaela Poloni, Taylor Shababerly, and Josie Liebzeit. 200-yard freestyle relay. See 50 out of each leg. Angela DiPaolo leads Washington State out of lane 5 into the transition to Dori Hatazi. Hatazi earlier today with a win for the Cougars in the 200 free. Well, she swims out 50 here. Lauren Willie pressuring Anna Austin in lane 4. The Cougars in lane 3, neck and neck there. Still the A relay team that's transitioned to Noelle Harvey, leading out in lane 5. Harvey also a winner in 2 events today, the 500 and the 50 free. She's essentially swimming her second 50 free of the day here, and she has Washington State out on good pace. Brianna Ungs, nice job. They're on the 3rd leg to keep Northern Colorado in 2nd. Michaela Curtin got the Cougars close in 3rd. Rockholtz trying to make up some space. Burgach going to close off a victory in lane 5 for Washington State. Allison Jackson for Northern Colorado kicking hard in lane 4. She'll get the Bears 2nd there. And then it'll be 3rd for Rockholtz and the Cougar Team B, followed by Liebzeit and Washington State's C relay team. So the Cougars take 1st and 3rd there, but it looks like the board is showing no time for Cougar Team B in lane 3. And Washington State will wait on the results. And it was Washington State's A relay winning that one of DiPaolo, Hatazi, Harvey, and Burgach for the Cougars. And that secures a dual meet victory for Washington State over Northern Colorado. The Cougars take 12 of the 14 events today, highlighted by some big individual performances. Anna Rockholtz winning a 50 back and a 100 back. Noelle Harvey winning the 500 and the 50 free. Emily Lundgren winning the 100 breast and the 50 breast, as the final score today is 186-74 for Washington State, as the Cougars defeat Northern Colorado, win their first home dual meet of the year, and won't be back home until February. But a great turnout here by this Cougar crowd as they see the Cougars win today at Gibb Pool. Pleasure to be with all of you. For Jared Prengruber, the rest of our Pac-12 Plus crew, this is Trevor Williams saying so long from Pullman. Cougars win in dual meet against Northern Colorado today on Pac-12 Plus.